Hello and welcome to something completely new to Showcase. A different kind of showcase, not where I review a weapon or a character. No. Instead, I'll give you a summary of developers themselves. Now the reason I do this is because when I was growing up, the video game industry was a fraction of the size it is now. There were only a handful of game developers that created quality games. It was the same for many others, but now the game industry is a billion-dollar trade. There's simply too many new faces around, and to the point where I can't keep track of them all. So I have created this series where I'll look into the history of the developer, where they came from, what they've made, and who they're associated with, and what they'll make next if it is known. And the company I'd like to start with is Platinum Games. Why Platinum Games? They're relatively new, still to the gaming space, and they have many influential names behind them. That's why. And you'll understand probably why at the end. Not the best, not the worst game developer, but I think it's a good start. As a light disclaimer, I'll be butchering many Japanese names in this video. Anyhow, let's begin with the history. Now, to start with Platinum Games, we gotta start with Atsushi Inaba, a rather, at the time, young talent who worked for SNK, and created Samurai Shodown among a couple of others. Then later was recruited by Capcom, where he created the Ace Attorney and Steel Battalion series. And after Capcom was rather impressed with those, they gave him a bit of leeway and he allowed him to form his own team, which turned into Clover Studio. This team had many of the Capcom talents held within, and Capcom funded them to create 3 games: Beautiful Joe, Okami, and God Hand. I'm pretty sure many people know of Okami at least. But in the commercial release, these games did not meet the level of success Capcom wanted, and they attempted to re-merge Clover Studios back into Capcom R&D. But the members of Clover Studio instead chose to dissolve the team, and from the ashes of Clover Studio, 3 incredibly talented men formed Seeds in August 2006. The 3 pivotal figures that created the studio was Ashi Inaba, as mentioned before, Shinji Mikami, the creator of Resident Evil, and Hideki Karimata, the creator of the original Devil May Cry. Alright, now a slight detour. I have to mention Tetsuya Minama, I've butchered that name, I'm sorry, who had also worked for Capcom for 20 years, with a giant resume to boot. I'm not gonna... you can Google his name. His resume is huge. Now, he left Capcom as well, following his whole shebuckle, to form his own little company, ODD, in February 2006, with the same idea to Clover Studios. And he was just tired of creating sequel after sequel after sequel, as we know Capcom is known for these days. Anyhow, after Inaba formed Seeds, he offered partnering with Minami and the ODD to create a new property together, and in October 2007, what seemed from this partnership was a merge of the 2 groups, and they renamed themselves Platinum Games, with Minami at the studio head, and the other 3 as directors or producers. Okay. But, for a little bit more than everything was quiet. Other than the announcement that they exist, there was nothing. But in 2008, Sega announced that they would be publishing 4 games from Platinum Games, which is a brave move from Sega to strike a deal with a new developer. But however, with those names, what could go wrong? Alright, I'm going to call this a chop list. This isn't a review of each game, it's more or less about what they've produced, published, developed, etc. It's going to look at some basic sales figures if I can find those, and the dates they released. But anyway, let's start with the very first game Sega published, which is Mad World, released in March 2009, made exclusive to Nintendo Wii. It was met with a positive reception and became a strong title in the Wii, but only in North America though, selling 123,000 units overall. But it did extremely poor in Japan, selling just 3,000 units in its first week. Ouch. The next is Infinite Space. I personally played this game, I love it myself. It was released in June 2009, and exclusive for Nintendo 3DS, selling rather well in Japan, selling 38,000 units in its first week, and being warm reviews in North America. Coming up in the third game is one plenty of people know, Bayonetta, released in October 2009, a game that put Platinum Games on the map. And by March 31st, 2010, Bayonetta sold 1.35 million units worldwide. And the fourth game, published by Sega, is Vanquish. Also played this myself, loved it. Also released in October 2009, sold rather well, beside being right beside Bayonetta. Sold 820,000 copies worldwide by February 2011. However, Platinum Games extended their deal with Sega to include a fifth game called Max Anarchy, released in July 2012. This was a sequel to Mad World, but however sold very poorly globally. The Platinum blaming Sega for a lack of advertising and Sega's reason for it being a waste of money to advertise it. This was the end of the publishing deal with Sega. After the deal with Sega, they got an unusual contract to make the next Metal Gear game from Kojima. The original team who made the game did not live up to Kojima's level of quality. They saw Platinum's game's Bayonetta and believed that they are best suited to salvage the game, which became Metal Gear Revengeance, or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, sorry. Released in February 2013, which sold rather well, at 470,000 copies. Sold very well in Japan alone. So yes, very nicely. And in the end, lived up Kojima's level of quality as well. Now, later that year, Platinum Games picked up a contract for a couple exclusives for Nintendo, as they wanted to boost the popularity of the Wii U. And for the first game was the Wonderful 101, released in August 2013, which sold somewhat, I wouldn't say great, but 5,258 during its first week. The one factor probably why it made it so weak is because it released during the same week as Pikmin 3. So yes, and probably the poor sales of the Wii U itself, but I digress. Putting up the next title is, shifting of gears, Bayonetta 2, a Wii U exclusive still. Released in October 2014, which is a bit of an odd choice how they chose a Wii U exclusive, but you get the idea. But it sold much better at 39,000 units in the first week of Japan alone. After the Nintendo exclusives and how they sold on a rather average scale, they had to take on various licensed games for Activision to pay bills. And this is the point where pretty much Platinum Games lost a bit of their quality. Then again, it's Activision. And license deals. What can you expect? The first title being Legend of Korra, the first bad game, in my opinion, of Platinum Games, released in October 2014. A tie-in title to the animated series I never watched, but oh well. It bombed. Unfortunately, with mixed to average reviews. It was clearly the worst game so far. Next game came out a bit of left field. It was Transformers Devastation, which you've probably seen me use a bit of footage for. It was released in October 2015, which had good reviews, but sold poorly globally, which is unfortunate. And the last of the Activision titles is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan, released in May 2016, which sold poorly like the rest, although the fans weren't very happy with this one. So it would be apparent that the deal with Activision was a bad one, but you can't create every game can't be a masterpiece. Now for the next game, I was a bit surprised that it was Star Fox Zero for Nintendo. Released April 2016, a Wii U exclusive, and also Star Fox Guard. When I'm the show a picture because it only classifies a game. But when it was released, it was mixed with critical to mixed reviews, based on the controls, the length of the game, and it sold rather mediocrely. At this point, both Platinum and Nintendo knew it was over for the Wii U. And that concludes all games presently released. So yes, towards the present, they did run into a bit of a financial rut, and did make some pretty shit games according for it, but everyone deserves a redemption. And I believe that their redemption is coming with the future games they were going to release. Hopefully. Only the future can tell with that. So what does Platinum Games have planned for the world of tomorrow? Well, what they first got is Nier Automata, which I believe I pronounced right, which is a sequel to the original Nier, for PC and PS4, scheduled for a 2017 release window. And for the same year, we also have Scalebound, the premise of a young lad and his dragon in a weird sci-fi hybrid, for PC and Xbox One. And for the games that go beyond tomorrow, we have a rather odd deal that came up suddenly. between Platinum Games and Cygames. I believe I pronounced that right. I'm not sure if it's one word or not. They have a deal to produce 2 games. They are still to be announced, but I'm not sure if they're even Japanese exclusives, but so far Platinum has not made any of those apparent yet, has not confirmed or denied. Anyway, we got Granblue Fantasy Project Relink for the PS4, which I know is very popular in Japan, and even has a trailer out right now. The next is Lost Order for Android and iOS, which all I know is it's a real-time strategy game, and that's it. I don't even have a date or time. So there you have it. And that concludes our video. Now, I wasn't expecting to really get any subscribers out of doing any of this. I'm surprised I even made it past 50. And here I am at 200. I hope you enjoyed this series, as I'll be doing them a little bit more and more and more. Now it's true that the Dark Souls 3 is almost done, but I'll be doing these in its stead, until the next game picks up. Which will probably be near, probably in mid-February as I recall. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching, both new and old. Take care out there.